Welcome to the Lucas and Lucas podcast. Lucas Frankel alongside Mike Lucas. And it is the news that Yankee fans have been dreading for the past couple weeks. The Yankees have given Aaron Boone a 3-year contract extension. Brian Cashman is going nowhere. Mike, what is your reaction to the Yankees? For whatever reason, they came to the conclusion that Aaron Boone is the right man to lead this organization for the next 3 seasons.
I mean, isn't the definition of insanity doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results? I mean, I believe that is the exact definition of insanity. And I do not understand the thought process behind bringing back Aaron Boone on top of the fact the roster is most likely going to look pretty darn similar to the roster they rolled out this year. I don't know, and this may be the one saving grace for Boone, if he's the one making any of these calls or it's strictly analytical and he's just following orders from the front office. But either way, the team from the majority of the season outside of that little stretch run where we all turned and thought Aaron Boone had clicked some switch, they played uninterested and uninspired baseball. And I think that's a knock on a manager more than it is on anything else, especially in a game like baseball where game to game, it's so different. Your manager has to be able to get every player, every pitcher locked in and engaged. And I just thought for the majority of the season, the Yankees were not that. And that falls on Boone's shoulders. And for the last 3 years, I think you could say they've fallen short of expectations. So to see him get a 3-year deal and see Cashman be the same general manager and run it back for the 4th or 5th time now, I felt like change was needed, but I can't understand why Cashman decided to bang his head against the wall for the 5th time. I don't see this team being much different next year, Frankel, with Boone back, Cashman back, and the roster looking virtually exactly the same.
What's crazy is, so Cashman's been with the Yankee organization since before we were born. He's been a part of the organization since before we were born. And he's been the general manager since we were in kindergarten. We were in kindergarten, he was the general manager of the Yankees. Now we're like 6 years out of college, and he's in the same job. I mean, there's basically like no one else on planet Earth who's got the same job in 1998 as they have in 2021. It was literally the list is Brian Cashman, and that's the extent of it. My biggest issue with Boone, and like the perception of this, is that Cashman basically is the manager. He's calling all the shots. He's making the lineup. He's the one in charge here, and Aaron Boone is just his puppet. And so to like be so angry at Boone is probably not the fairest thing. My biggest beef with Boone is that I don't think he knows or has the ability to like inspire his team. They don't feed off him. They're so like just
They're zombies. They're lifeless.
Yeah, they just go day by day. They go through the motions, and you see like even when Boone gets ejected, like nothing changes. When Jordan used to get ejected, like the Yankees like had this like outpouring of like home runs and clutch hits. And when Boone does it, they just roll over even further. It's like the opposite trend. So that's my one beef with Boone. The reality is with Cashman is that he wants someone that just will do whatever he wants. That's why Joe Girardi's not there, because Joe Girardi pushed back. And until that changes, until Brian Cashman is no longer the general manager, nothing will change. He's been in this position for way, way, way too long, and his philosophy, however you want to call it, I think is stale, and the Yankees get a new direction. But for whatever reason, Hal Steinbrenner doesn't seem to care. He loves Cashman. They're attached at the hip, and it seems like he's got a lifetime contract, and I have no idea why.
Oh, you just answered your own question. He gets a contract because Cashman does what Steinbrenner's probably telling him to do. And that's why he likes Boone being in that position, because Boone does whatever Cashman tells him to do. And it's kind of a puppet chain up and down the organization. And I just don't know. I don't know enough about baseball or the inner workings of other franchises to know if this is common around the league today. If the front offices are the ones and analytic people are the ones driving every decision. I'm not sure if that's how Boston, Houston, LA, San Francisco. I'm not sure if that's how those teams are run. But I can't imagine it is. And the manager and Frank, I've played for enough coaches, enough bad coaches. Sometimes you just don't want to play for a guy. And it's nothing personal against him. It's just he lacks the ability to inspire.
Well, from what I've heard and what I've listened to, not that I'm in the room to like fully know, but from everything I hear, the players love Boone. Like, he's such a nice guy. He's funny. He does a great job of talking to the media, which is probably literally the one trait that Cashman was looking for. Someone that can talk to the media, make them laugh. Is very good with just a great people person. That's what Boone is. He's not like this baseball leader. He's not a leader of men, in my opinion. And listen, it is what it is. I thought it was hilarious that the Yankees put out a statement when they announced the move that he's the 3rd manager in Yankee history to make the playoffs in each of his first 4 seasons joining Casey Stengel and Joe Torre. That's where the comparisons start and end. Don't be throwing Aaron Boone's name in the same sentence as Casey Stengel and Joe Torre. Joe Torre won 4 championships in his first 5 years with the Yankees. Casey Stengel won 5 in a row. He's like the only manager in the history of any, besides like Red Auerbach and John Wooden, to win like 5 titles in a row. I don't even know if the Celtics actually did that, but I know they won a bunch.
They won 11 and 13.
11 and 13.
Won 5 in a row at one point.
Right, and John Wooden won like 10 in a row. So like in terms of like a major professional sport, like Casey Stengel, how dare you? That is an insult to Casey Stengel and everything that dude lived for. And then don't even like, who are you trying to fool with this statement? Don't make me think that Aaron Boone is like Joe Torre and Casey Stengel reincarnated. He is not that at all. And the other comparison they made was he's the second manager ever to reach the postseason in each of his first 4 seasons, joining Mike Matheny. You know where Mike Matheny is? He's fired because the Cardinals couldn't take him anymore, and they regressed after Tony La Russa left. So
I also, real quick, not to interrupt, but I also hate how they call making the play-in game making the playoffs. Like, it's not the same. If you don't play in an actual series, it's not making the playoffs. The Yankees did not make the playoffs this year. I don't care what, like, they didn't make the playoffs this year.
I mean, if you want to get super, super technical, like the Yankees are like, they're just getting up, they're taking what's it called? They're taking like the easy way out. Hey, like the loophole in the system is basically, yeah, we made the play-in game, therefore we made the playoffs. Give me a break. Aaron Boone is not Joe Torre, and for the love of humanity, he is not Casey Stengel, who's probably up there in the top 3 managers of all time. I mean, the dude was absolutely a wizard with the Yankees. And here's reality Boone. He's 11-11 postseason record. He's been eliminated by the Red Sox twice in 4 years. They made it further with Girardi in 2017 than Boone and any time with Boone. And this whole like praising of Boone, I mean, just enough is enough. I mean, but it is what it is.
Sometimes change is needed, though, Frank. I mean, the players can love him, but sometimes change is needed. And I can't say his word is running stale with the Yankees because I don't know if his word means anything, but it feels like he just lacks the ability to inspire them to play hard. And they may be playing hard, just doesn't see it, but they're not fiery. And they lack that, and I think I feel like that falls on coaching.
The Yankees will finish in 4th place in the AL East next year. They'll probably win like 84 to 85 games. I would project them at. But the Toronto Blue Jays are winning the pennant next year. They are absolutely loaded. They got off to a slow start and were really, really clicking on all cylinders at the end. And then it was just a little too late from them. But they're going to be fully loaded next year. They'll have a full season of Barrios in that rotation, full season of Robbie Ray. Obviously, Bichette's going to be back. Guerrero is going to be back. Springer should be there for a whole year. They have a ton of money in free agency to spend. They're going to be an absolute force. And if I were to bet on the 2022 American League pennant winner right now, it would be the Toronto Blue Jays. Obviously, the Red Sox. They still, I wouldn't say we'll get to them in a second, but like they're going to be probably better next year, another year under their belt. This was supposed to be a rebuilding year for them. Now they see how far they got this year. They're going to add pieces. Obviously, the Tampa Bay Rays, no matter how many players they lose, they're always there. So, like, the Yankees are going to finish in 4th place next year. And I'm so sick of it. I got so many freaking ticket emails. I wrote a really, really nasty email in their ticket office they keep heckling me, like, am I interested in buying tickets? And I told them, here's what I need to see. I need to see changes with the manager, front office, and roster. Well, guess what you did? You brought back the manager, and you brought back the general manager. So I told them, listen, until this changes, do not send me any emails. I said, I'm not supporting this garbage. And they didn't reply. So I'm very, very frustrated.
Good for you, man. Hey, stand your ground. I love it.
All right, moving on to the ALCS. And Mike, I'll just go. So this series is crazy.
Wow, it's been crazy.
Because if one call goes the way of the Red Sox in Game 4, it's a completely different series. Red Sox are up 2-1, top 9, 2 outs, 1-2 pitch to Jason Castro is a strike. It's really not arguable. It was a strike in the zone. The umpire called it a ball, next pitch, base hit. Astros take the lead. They go on to score 7 runs in the 9th inning, take a 9-2 lead. Since that moment, they've outscored the Red Sox since the 8th inning, because Altuve tied it in the 8th. They've outscored the Red Sox 17-1 over the past 2 games. So it's just crazy how one call like that, if that pitch of Jason Castro was called a strike, the Red Sox go to the bat in the bottom of the 9th inning with a chance to win the game. And that was taken away from them. Then in Game 5, there were 2 instances that I thought changed the complexion of the game. First one, bottom of the 5th inning, runners on first and second, nobody out, Hunter Renfroe at the plate. I'm always the proponent of the bunt there. He didn't bunt, ground into a double play. Next inning, Astros had the runners on second and third. Or actually, no. After Altuve walked, this is why the Astros are probably going to the World Series. Altuve leads off the inning with a walk. Then they do a hit and run. Brantley hits a slow roller to third. Schwarber sees Altuve breaking further after he already stole second, loses focus, drops the ball. So now they have runners on second and third after Bregman grounded out. So second and third, one out, and then Yordan Alvarez hits a double the other way. Ball game. All because they put guys in motion, they hit the ball the other way, and that's exactly what the Yankees do not do. They do not hit and run, they do not put guys in motion, and they never hit the ball the other way. And that's exactly what the Astros did in the top of the sixth inning. That will be the inning that everyone remembers in Game 5 that sent them to the World Series, assuming they hold on here. And that's everything the Yankees don't do.
Yeah, well, Yankees' strategy is strike out, hit a home run, and strike out 12 more times and try to hit another home run. I mean, it's the numbers. I told you at the beginning of the season, I struggle to watch baseball now, especially the Yankees, because A, they're not on all the time, but B, is I can't stand watching dudes strike out. And the Yankees, do you know the average off the top of your head, to look it up? How many times per game do the Yankees strike out? It had to be 12 plus. It had to be 12
per
plus
game?
times a game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Had to be 12 plus times a game, and you only get 27 outs. So, I mean, just the strikeout rate's astronomical. The Yankees don't do anything to make the other team fret. They don't steal bases. They don't hit and run. They don't bunt. They don't sacrifice. They literally get up there. They swing as hard as they can, and 1 out of every 15 at bats, they crush it.
So it's fourth in baseball, striking out 9.84 times per 9 innings. But on the other side of that, every single team in the top 5 made the playoffs. White Sox were first in baseball with 10.2 times per game. Brewers were second at 10.11. Dodgers were third, and Red Sox were fifth. So, you can hate the Yankees for that, but
I'm saying that's personally why I struggle to watch baseball in the regular season. At least is I just can't stand watching guys go up there and strike out night after or a bat after a bat after a bat. And it's mostly because they just don't do anything to put pressure on the defense. Literally do anything. I mean, steal bases. I know they're not the fastest team, but at some point, do something, because the home run approach, the strikeout home run approach, has backfired time after time. And in the postseason, when it's harder to hit, pitchers are more dialed in, you're not facing bad bullpen guys, it's just harder to come by those home runs. And I know, who is it? Was it the Braves have double the amount of home runs as anyone else in the playoffs so far? I don't know the exact stat, but the Braves have hit 9 or 10 home runs as a team. The next team highs 4 or 5 or 6, something like that. So I'm not saying it can't work, because they are up 3-1 on the Dodgers, but it's just not sustainable. And it's such a crapshoot. It's like playing roulette. You're going to win big every once in a while, but you're going to lose a lot of times in the middle. And sometimes that hole's too big to overcome.
My favorite play all postseason is the hit and run with Brantley and Altuve. Altuve running the second, and Brantley just putting the ball in play and forcing the Red Sox to make a play, and they couldn't make it. And I love how Kyle from Waltham, the whole Jared Carabas movement. By the way, I can't stand that guy. And
I do like the Kyle from Waltham. That is funny. That's a nice little bit.
It is funny, the Kyle from Waltham thing, but I don't know, anything that comes out of Carabas's mouth, I hope it fails. And to see Schwarber fail in that moment last night was pretty satisfying in my opinion. And listen, he's my number one least favorite person on Twitter, because all he does is hate the Yankees, and every single thing that his whole life is just revolves around hating the Yankees. Quite frankly, I'm sick of it.
Why do you not like the Kyle from Waltham?
I mean, I think it's hilarious, but
I think it's hysterical.
Everything that nothing that comes out of Carabas's mouth will ever make me laugh. I blocked him again, because I blocked him for a second because he was coming after me for blocking him for this whole.
He's coming after you?
I don't want. It's really not. It's some other person I work with looped him into a conversation I was having, and he got wind of it, and he tried to see my tweets, and he was they took a screenshot because I blocked him, and then it's not good.
We'll talk off air about that.
But either way, I can't support anything that guy does. He's so annoying, and I really don't want to hear what he has to say. But I did catch wind of the whole Kyle from Waltham thing, because it was publicized in a bunch of other areas, and it's hilarious. And I actually really thought it was going to be this rallying cry for the Red Sox to win the World Series. It still might be, but to see Schwarber drop that ball last night, Kyle from Waltham, your hometown kid, not coming through for your team, it's a great satisfaction.
Yeah, he's been really clutch. So the law of averages said he was going to have to have a bad performance when it mattered most. So unfortunately for Red Sox fans and for the city of Waltham, the town of Waltham, it came at a pretty unfortunate time, but he's been good. I mean, he's been really good this ALCS. So you take the good with the bad.
So let's put a pick to it. Do you think the Red Sox rally from this 3-2 deficit? By the way, they're 7-0 all time in Game 6 in a best-of-7 series when trailing 3-2. In the history of the Red Sox, they have never lost Game 6 of a best-of-7 series when trailing 3-2.
Is Game 6 tonight?
Game 6 is on Friday night.
Friday night in Houston?
In Houston.
Give me the Astros.
You think Astros get it done on Friday?
Close it out. Yep.
I think the winner of Game 6 wins the series. Like if the Red Sox are able to like get it back together for one game, and we'll see. I hope that the Astros just put my nightmare to bed, and this is over. But we'll see. In the National League, for the second straight year, the Braves have a 3-1 lead over the Dodgers in the NLCS, and you could say that the Dodgers have them exactly where they want the Braves. But Mike, my opinion, this year is different than last year for the Dodgers for a variety of reasons. Number one, first of all, their ace Max Scherzer couldn't make it past the 5th inning in his first start of the series because he said he had like a dead arm, couldn't get loose. So to think that he's just going to like come back and be vintage Max Scherzer here in a basically a do or die game. I believe he's pitching Game 5 tonight. They're going with a bullpen game tonight, which is a huge red flag. And so he wouldn't be there until Game 6 or 7. So like, the fact that your big stud Scherzer is like not what he needs to be. You lost when Walker Buehler started. You just lost when Julio Urias started. So those are your top 3 guys in the rotation. To think that you could be able to overcome that and still beat a team like the Braves, I think is a very, very tall task. Justin Turner, one of the emotional leaders for the Dodgers, suffered a grade 2 hamstring strain. He's done for the playoffs. It just feels like there's just too much to overcome right now for the Dodgers. But listen, I could be wrong. Who knows? I think the Braves will win this series, but when you look at the history of the Dodgers and the recent history especially, I don't think you cross them up.
No, I think the difference, though, with this Dodgers team as opposed to last year's or the last couple is they're just banged up. I mean, I know every team in the postseason is not 100% healthy, but you look up and down the lineup, Dodgers, they have like half their guys that are playing that would typically be playing in the situation. Like they are really banged up, and I don't want to blame it on their World Series last year and deep run, shorter turnaround. Baseball is baseball. They had 162 games to get healthy. They never seem to be healthy. So I like the Braves here as well. I think Houston, Atlanta would be a fascinating World Series matchup, but it is impossible to count out the Dodgers until that final out is recorded because we've seen time after time. I think they've come back from 3-1 deficits over the last 2 years or 3 years, whatever the stat was. I mean, that's unbelievable to fathom a team can do that consistently. And if they win Game 5, then the pressure starts flipping to Atlanta because they haven't been in that situation and the Dodgers have. And that's a scary thought to be, or a scary spot to be in if you're a Braves fan, because it's a young team that hasn't been on this stage yet or hasn't succeeded past this stage yet. And when the pressure's on your shoulders, you play a little tighter and everything seems to get a little tougher. So I still would think Atlanta wins. I feel like they're too good not to win one of the next 3. But it is crazy that the Dodgers keep finding themselves down 3-1 and somehow keep finding ways to win.
I mean, we'll see. I thought it was hilarious too that how Colin Cowherd was calling the Bellinger home run in Game 3 one of like the biggest home runs in the history of Major League Baseball. I mean, give me a break. They're down 2-0. Listen, it was a big home run. Didn't even give the team the lead, but then they go out and lose the next night. Like that's not even in the top 30 biggest home runs in postseason history. Like that. Wait. Listen, I love Colin Cowherd. I was going to
say, it takes a lot for you to disagree with the Cowherd take, but I do agree here.
I love Colin, and I think Stephen A is, there's a reason why he gets paid the big bucks, and is probably one of the best, personalities in the history of sports media. But when those guys talk about baseball, it makes my ears crack. I can't listen to it. I just can't do it. I really, really struggle when those guys try to make points about baseball. But listen, we're not here to bash those guys. They get paid millions and millions of dollars and we don't, and there's a reason why they're in that spot.
They do know how to talk basketball, though.
Right, they're amazing at basketball and they're amazing at football, college football. Those guys are as good as it gets. But Ben Simmons, Mike, you're plugged in this situation. Tell us what's going on in Philadelphia. We have a college classmate who's in the thick of all of it. Give us the goods right now.
I'm just going to let you know that I did some research. Eli's not the first former Emerson player to play in the NBA. He's just the first one to be caught on video and then go viral. Dan Bisacchio used to run with the Heat. He was he still is the Miami video coordinator. He used to run up and down with the Heat when they needed a fill-in wing in practice. But it was hysterical. If you haven't seen the picture, there was a picture of practice. Ben Simmons is in sweatpants on the sidelines, and they have a 5'6" point guard in who looks way out of place, who's being guarded by Tobias Harris. That is Eli Kell-Abrams, my best friend. He's now the video coordinator of the Sixers. And he actually ran. He said he has a bet with Joel Embiid, whether or not he could dunk this year. So we'll see how that goes.
Can Eli get rim?
Yeah, Eli's athletic as can be.
He can dunk?
We'll see, but he can grab rim.
I mean, like, how tall is Nate Robinson?
5'9".
Oh, so Nate Robinson's got 3 inches on Eli. It's hard to believe that. Like, you think of Nate Robinson as like this 4-foot player, but he's really like, if you stay next to you and me, he's taller than me and you.
Nate Robinson's our height, yeah. Our height, maybe a little taller. So yeah, he's just a midget compared to NBA standards. He's a very normal sized person in real life. Here's the deal, Ben Simmons, for what I can say. He got kicked out of practice. The relationship is virtually fractured. I see no way it's ever repaired. And I think this is trending more towards the Sixers. And this is just me speculating. This trends towards the Sixers just telling Ben Simmons to go home, don't come back, and we'll trade you next year when your value goes back up. But there's no way they get equal value for what he's worth right now. And Morey won't trade him for 25 cents on the dollar. And there's also no way he'd come back and play on the Sixers. So that's the situation right now. So
they suspended him for 1 game. So yes. The Nets play the Sixers on Friday. So what's the next move going to be for this? Are they just going to announce that he's?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. I missed a call from Eli this morning, so maybe he was going to tell me that. But I do know he won't play against the Nets.
He's not playing. So he is not playing on Friday night. Confirmed.
I can't report that like officially, but yeah, there's no way he's playing. If he's not practicing, he's not playing. Put it that way.
I mean, listen, I guess he showed up because he wanted money. Is that because he didn't want to get because if he didn't show up, then he has to forfeit a lot more money. Is that correct?
Yes.
So basically he just showed up because he knew that he just had to show his face. He would get his paycheck. Because I thought, because when he was holding out all summer, and then he showed up, I thought maybe he just was he wimped out and was like, all right, I'll play. I did what I had to do over the summer to send my message to the organization, let them know how I feel. But now that I'm here, I'm going to play. I'm going to put my head down and do whatever it takes. And to see him act like that and to see the look on his face, I've been watching sports.
Listen, I can tell you this, Frank. He had no interest in being there. Let me just put it that way.
I could have told you that based on what the reports have been and looking at the body language that he had.
Yes. He was practicing with a cell phone in his pocket.
I get he's there because he wants money, but if you're gonna act like that, don't even show up. I
agree. I agree.
It really left a really, really bad taste in my mouth. And I would love if the Nets and Sixers got together and be, hey, we have a problem, you have a problem, let's just make this work. And just Kyrie for Ben Simmons, and it's just frustrating. Why can't we just get this done tomorrow and we can move on with the rest of our lives? I don't know how Ben Simmons would fit in with the Nets.
Perfectly with the Nets.
He would be, but Harden loves the ball. Harden's got to have the ball. And what good is Simmons if he doesn't have the ball?
An elite defender that's 6'10".
Yeah, but all right. So what's he gonna? All right. So let's say you're on offense, and so what's he gonna do? Just stand there while Harden dribbles. He's your screener. Harden is a better. I'd rather have him with the ball than Ben Simmons. Is that fair?
Agree. Oh, 100%. 100%.
So if you had Ben Simmons, what he brings to offense, which is nothing without the ball. He doesn't know what to do. He'll just stand in the corner.
He's Bruce Brown on steroids. Put it that way.
Without the ball.
Take Bruce Brown and what he did last year and put Ben Simmons in, and it's that exact role on steroids.
No, because I think Ben Simmons is a top 8, top 10 guy probably in the league that you want you want him running your offense because he's a special he's a special talent. There's no bones about it. The dude is a wizard with the basketball. When he's running that show, we've seen him without Embiid and what he can do. 30-point triple doubles, can get to the racket at will. Obviously got tremendous size, elite defender. He can do a ton of. I just maybe he wouldn't be a great fit with the Nets now that I'm starting to realize it. Forget the whole baggage stuff. The whole idea of him meshing with Harden and the conflict that would develop. He's not an off-ball player, is what it comes down
He'd
to.
be your center. The way it works is you make him a center with the ability to run the offense through him. And that's what Bruce Brown was at times in the playoffs last year. He was the Nets 6'5" center. So that is the ideal scenario. Would Ben Simmons buy into that role? I have no clue. I mean, he won't buy into playing a simple defensive shell drill in practice and got kicked out. So, like, what is he willing to do? I have absolutely no idea. But in a perfect world, Ben Simmons as your center with shooting around him. I mean, think of how let me just give you a scenario real quick. Ready? You have a high pick and roll. Simmons sets the screen for Harden. Harden comes off left, throws a little bounce pass to Simmons. There's not a guy in the league who'd rather catch the ball there than Ben Simmons because, A, he could either go up and dunk it, hopefully if his mind's right, not what he did against Atlanta in the playoffs. But think of how good he would be passing to Joe Harris wide open in the corner. What would teams have to do? I mean, that is the ability, and that would make that offense special. If you had Durant in one corner, Harris in the other corner, and pick another player and put him on the – like, that's where the opportunities for this team to be special offensively would come from. Because as nice as Nick Claxton is, you could throw an oop to Simmons just like you can to Claxton. You can't drop it off to Claxton and then have Claxton make a play for someone else after that pick and roll. So that's where the offensive fit comes in. Would Simmons buy into it? I have no idea. But think of it like Draymond Green. Like, think of how nasty those Draymond Green, Steph Curry pick and rolls are, where he does a little pocket pass to Draymond, and then Draymond finds the open guy in the corner. That's Ben Simmons, or what Ben Simmons could be with the Nets. It's just, would he be willing to buy into that role, which was not what he had in Philadelphia?
So, in your listen, we could speculate all we want. I would love for there to be a Kyrie for Simmons swap, but I mean, it doesn't feel like that's going to happen at all.
Can I also tell you last thing, the reason more than anything else I would do it is come playoff time, he could guard Giannis.
Right, but so who's got the ball in the court here? Is it the Sixers? If they decide that, all right, if we could just get Kyrie, that's the best value we can get right now for this guy because he's got nothing left. If we get a guy like Kyrie Irving, he's obviously. But listen, why would you want to trade for Kyrie Irving at this age?
I have no idea, Frank. This is where it gets into the Bill Simmons has no idea, and the people who really know have no idea because I can't tell if Simmons is tanking his value to the littlest possible that amount, and then it's just a game of chicken. He's trying to get Daryl Morey to flinch, and Morey's trying to say, "Hey, I'm not going to flinch. Like, I'm gonna steal a line from Bill Simmons here." But he had all of China come after him last year. Daryl Morey did. He didn't blink an eye. Like, Ben Simmons isn't going to scare him. You know what I mean? Doc Rivers has been around the league for 40 years. Like, Ben Simmons isn't going to make Doc Rivers reevaluate how he handles his team. So Simmons may have made a miscalculation on which team and which people he can and can't mess with. And it seems like the Sixers are a team that won't put up with his shenanigans for much longer.
Who, if you had to pick one, who's the bigger? I mean, I think I know the answer, but who are you more frustrated by right now? Forget fandom aside, as just a basketball fan, Kyrie or Ben Simmons?
I would be more, as a basketball fan, more frustrated with Simmons.
Okay.
And here's my real quick reasoning. Simmons is not showing up and is going out of his way to be counterproductive and detrimental to his team. Kyrie, at least in his mind, is making a stand for something. And whether or not you agree with the stance or not, we thought it was last week, whether you agree with it or not, in his mind, he's making a stand. And at least as a fan, I could respect that more than Kyrie. Imagine Kyrie came in a Nets practice and got kicked out and was just like, screw you guys, I don't want to be. That's more of a headache than Kyrie just not being there at all. So that's my 2 cents.
Just I've been DMing Kyrie basically every day, hoping that like I get something out of him, but doesn't seem like he's ever going to respond. But either way, so the Nets without Kyrie Irving lost their season opener by 23 points, 127-104 to the Milwaukee Bucks. Giannis, for my money, he's the most unstoppable player in the NBA. Everyone keeps trying to say like Durant's the best player, but I love Durant. But like, listen, when push comes, like Giannis is he's the best player in the NBA right now. If he wants to, he could drive to the basket and score every single time. And there's not a single thing that anyone in the NBA could do about it. And unless you want to throw like 5 defenders at him, that's the only way you can stop him. But if you do that, you're leaving Chris Middleton, Drew Holiday, now Grayson Allen hitting threes. I mean, he is just so lethal, and I think the Bucks are going to win the title. Giannis is just that special, in my opinion.
He is. And I want to start with this about the game, though. I did not know Grayson Allen signed with the Bucks, and I already have an unbelievable amount of disdain in my heart for Milwaukee for how last season ended. And to add Grayson Allen to that team just makes them so much easier to hate. So good for you, Milwaukee. You're now on my least favorite professional sports teams list, even though I do love Giannis. And if you haven't read his book, it's phenomenal. You should read his book.
Giannis' book?
Yeah. Done by Mina Faber, The Life of Giannis. It came out right after the championship. Phenomenal. I'll send it to you after this. Really, really phenomenal. I'm not worried about the Nets. On ring night, a team like that in a city like that hasn't won in 50 years, was going to come out. The crowd was absolutely electric. Giannis's first ring. I mean, they were just hyped up. It's a regular season game. The Nets counter to the Bucks is to play Kevin Durant at center for 48 minutes. They weren't going to do that in game one of an 82-game regular season. The Bucks are a terrible matchup for the Nets in the regular season, especially without Kyrie, where they have to, where they can't match size for size, and they can't make Milwaukee downsize to guard their guards. So I was hoping the Nets would be more competitive. They made it competitive at one stretch, and then Milwaukee kind of came out in the second half and just established their dominance, their physical dominance. But if you're worried after that, I think you're overreacting to one game, and there's no need to panic. It's a bad matchup on a night where the team getting their rings typically comes out and dominates. So it was kind of what I expected. The one thing I didn't expect was Patty Mills to be the greatest shooter in the history of America, but he's Australian, so maybe that was my overlooking came from.
Yeah, he went 7 of 7 from 3, and the Nets still lost by 23 points. The Nets shot over 50% from 3 and still lost by over 20 points, which is pretty hard to believe. You think that anytime the Nets shoot that well from 3, they win the game.
They play no defense.
Right, and that's where it goes back to Giannis, where that dude is just, there's for me in my lifetime, post Michael Jordan, most dominant players I've seen. Number 1 is prime LeBron. Number 2 is prime Giannis. And number 3 is prime Shaq. Most unstoppable forces I've seen on a basketball court. Those 3.
You would have put Shaq number 1 on that?
Maybe because he didn't sustain it for he had a really solid, he had an all-time run for 4 or 5 years. But I think this might be a 10-year run for him. I don't know.
So no, it's valid, and it's impossible to compare. You're comparing peaks, and you're right. They're up there, and then, yeah, those it's tough to argue with those 3. I think you saw Durant in his prime OKC scoring days, unstoppable. And then even Steph Curry, when he gets hot, that's literally unstoppable on a different level of unstoppability. It's not a physical dominance; it's a shooting spectacle. But yeah, you're right. He's unbelievable, and the scary part is, he still has room to get better. You see guys who reach their peak, and you're like, man, this is about as good as we're ever going to see this player. Giannis could still develop a better jump shot and more, a wider array of offensive moves than just put his shoulder down and muscle into you. So it's scary how good Giannis can be when it's all said and done, because he's still young. I think he's only 26 or 27. He's younger than us. So,
and the reason why, I give maybe if Shaq was around in 2021, he'd be more like a Giannis and less just a low post, dunk the ball over everyone type of player. But Giannis, he can play point guard. He can guard all 5 positions. He's obviously a much better shooter than Shaq ever was. Couple that with his, he's just as good, maybe a slightly not as good as Shaq was in the paint. So I look at the complete player that he is compared to what Shaq was, and then it's just damn, that dude, he could just do so many more things, and he's going to be an absolute.
He's a force. He already is a force. Yeah, he's already. He's a top 30 player of all time already. So, and he's 26.
All right, that'll do it for this edition of the Lucas and Lucas podcast. We'll see you all next week when the Giants fall to 1-6 after they lose to the Carolina Panthers and Sam Darnold in this return to MetLife Stadium on Sunday.